Hey everybody, Dr. Holly here. Happy 5 Minute Friday. So we are back at it again, and we are talking revenue and prices. But the question specifically I have this week to talk about is, are you skip charging? Now, if you Google skip charging, you're not going to find a whole lot because I just made that up. But what I use this term to encompass is what I would call creative billing practices, for lack of a better term. So I say creative because it's like I'm always surprised when I hear of another one, and it's like, oh, my first thought is that was creative, right? But at the end of the day, are these things that we need to be doing, things that you need to be doing, and are they potentially fraudulent? Okay, so I hope you know by now all of the laws and rules that apply to us as licensed healthcare providers when it comes to regulations such as incentivizing or enticing patients, especially of federal programs, to come into your office. And so hopefully you know the rules about discounting and doing gimmicks and stuff like that. But sometimes I just find that providers have these like wonky little quirks when it comes to billing. And I really don't know what the reason is. I think that in the chiropractic profession, others have said this is not a new idea to me. We sort of fall into more of a scarcity mindset, or more of a defensive position when it comes to justifying care for our patients. Okay. And, if you're more in the evidence based crowd, which I certainly hope that you are very sensitive to not coming across as just trying to, profit or gain from your patient base, right? But you want to, especially they just passed that legislation, the No Surprises Act. And I hope that wasn't a surprise to you, that you should be, well informing your patients about their financial responsibility in your office. But the thing I want to talk about is, do you have habits around making things maybe not quite line up in your office? And what I'm talking about is, whatever happens with a patient in your office, 100% has to be documented, okay? And what you document has to line up with what you bill for, okay? And that goes both ways, right? If you get audited and you see that, across the board, if you were upcharging or upcoding, that would be a problem, right? If you bill for a level 2 or 3 exam, they pull your records, they see that that's not there. That's a problem, right? But a lot of times I see it going the other way. For some reason, it has become a myth or a scary tale in our profession that, you're automatically going to be audited if you bill a 5-region adjustment. Okay, so some doctors been practicing 15, 20 years say, I have never billed that chiropractic manipulative therapy code for adjusting 5 regions. There's no reason to be such extreme like that, okay? If you did it, you better document it. And there's no reason not to bill for it, okay? Because you did it. It was clinically justified, I'm sure, and you have the documentation to back it up, so you did it. It's not a standard, right? It's not every single patient gets this. Sometimes we just have more complicated cases. And so we want to make sure that everything is lining up, because here's the bottom line. And, these audits have happened before, where say a payer comes in and they want to audit 10% of your claims, so they're matching that up. If they find an error right there, they can retroactively pull that back and say, hey, if you had, an 80% error rate, maybe that means that 80% of the claims that we've paid you over this period of time were incorrect, okay? Those things have happened. Those things have not happened to me, but I'm telling you, those types of things have happened. So I always want you to really think about what you're doing. And is this standard that maybe we've created in the chiropractic profession to make a deal with a patient, or to not properly code, or always down coding, so we're afraid, we don't want any red flags, has that hurt us in the long run? I know this question comes up a lot with diagnosis coding, okay? We know that there are certain rules and only certain codes that are allowed on Medicare claims, right? But for private insurance companies, there's no reason to downcode. If you are treating a patient for a condition, if you have found and you have diagnosed that condition for that patient, don't just put in the segmental dysfunction codes and call it a day. If you are actually treating something of theirs, you need to get to that higher level, because we need to give the insurance companies the data that says we treat people with XYZ, right? And this is our standard for it. These are our stats for it. This is how often we see them. This is our success rate. All of those things come down to coding and come down to, running the statistics and everything behind it. Okay. So other creative things that I have seen in practices. And oh, here we go. This is where the juicy stuff comes in right after my timer. When a patient's benefits run out, and you transition them to, a cash-based service, are you then suddenly, doing services for them that you're not charging them for because you quote, don't want to burden them with that cost? Okay. It is the patient's decision at the end of the day. You make your recommendations and it's their decision. It doesn't mean that they decide I can't pay that and you still do everything. You just give it away for free. Okay. If you have an x-ray in your office, are you billing for the x-rays? Okay. Sometimes I hear such crazy stories of things that people give away in their office, or the discounts or the plans they try to come up with just to keep people there. And I'm telling you that you are devaluing the chiropractic profession when you do that, because the care that we provide to people is highly valuable already. We don't need to discount it. We don't need to chase people around, and we don't need to try to convince them of why they should be seeking care in our offices. Okay. So this is obviously can be a much longer conversation. My point is, don't skip bill. What you do is what you do, bill for it, have your fee schedule there, have your patients well informed, and at the end of the day, it is their decision. And how effectively you run your business is going to determine your ultimate success and your longevity in the profession. So that's it. Getting off my soapbox for this week. Have a great weekend, everybody.